So we're here in the House Rayburn office building, room 2237, the Judiciary Committee room, talking about a new study by the Entertainment Software Association and the Higher Education Video Game Alliance on jobs and the educational system and where creative clusters are growing, with video games and the video game economy being at the epicenter of those. So our panelists today were, we had Guha Bala, who's the president and founder of Vicarious Visions in upstate New York. We had Constance Steinkuhler, who is the head of the Higher Education Video Game Alliance. She's also a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and a former fellow at the White House, where she was a senior advisor to the president in the Office of Science and Technology Policy on video games. We had Heather Page, who's the Texas Film Commissioner and oversees the tax incentive for the video game industry in Texas, and has almost single-handedly, along with the leadership there of the state, grown it into 5,000 jobs in Austin alone. And we had Andy Phelps, who started Rochester Institute's Magic Center and has 700 undergraduate and graduate students in Rochester Institute of Technology's program, and they're graduating and going into jobs, not just in the video game industry, jobs in Microsoft and Activision and Take-Two and Electronic Arts, but they're also going to work for companies like Lockheed Martin, companies like Google and Amazon, and they're starting startups of their own.
We're very proud as an association, as an industry association, to say that 84% of congressional districts have a video game facility or a video game program in their district. That shows the remarkable connection that there is across the country, not just in a handful of places. Also, when you tie that to what does that mean for the economy or for those individuals, for the very fortunate about 150,000 people that work in the industry, the average wage is $95,000 a year. These are the jobs that really drive our economy forward, and we've been growing them, but it's significantly faster than the rate of the overall growth of the economy.
We may have been the first game company in upstate New York altogether, including Western, but certainly the first in our area. There's no local talent that we could hire, so I remember in 1999 I went to China myself to recruit artists, find artists from there, placed in newspaper ads to do so. Did the same thing in Russia and Moscow, did the immigration paperwork myself to get them over here. Some of those people are still with us at Vicarious today, years later. And that starts a bit of a flywheel. You start a critical mass of talent, along with a critical mass of local companies, and that kind of thing. A university system that eventually developed, like Andy mentioned, to create a game program and now provide trained professionals that are a good source for recruiting. And we started making excellent work.
So in my own research, it turns out that if you add games to, say, a typical K-12 curriculum, you not only improve performance, you also improve retention and interest, which these days is really, really vital. Our kids that are even faring well in school don't like school, and they don't think it's relevant, and they find it's boring. So you may be able to get them to perform on assessments, but you actually ruin their lifelong interest in wanting to learn about a topic. Games improve that situation. Well, what's really interesting is that if you look at the role of game design programs in higher ed, you have the exact same pattern emerge.
One of the things that's worked extraordinarily well is we talk about the importance of incubators and accelerators. Also, tax incentives work extraordinarily well, and there are 21 states around the country that have passed tax incentives to grow the video game industry in their state. Texas is at the forefront of all of those, and your incentive covers not just our industry, but also the film and television and commercial industry. Do you want to talk about how that worked and how that has grown things there?
Sure. I think that it's probably pretty instrumental to our more recent growth, particularly in helping smaller companies. And that's really had a huge impact. One of the other things that also had a huge impact for us is we don't have income tax. And so when we were trying to get talent that wasn't necessarily entry-level talent, we were able to recruit that talent to the state because they were able to keep more of their wages.
The main takeaway, it's like the ZZ Top song, "We're bad, we're nationwide." This industry that people think of in just in terms of like Northern and Southern California or Seattle or Austin or maybe Boston is in 49 states. It's across 84% of all congressional districts. So wherever you can get broadband, you have creative people designing video games for a variety of different platforms. You have colleges and universities teaching video game design because that's where the jobs are. We've gone from 8 colleges in 1991 to 406 colleges that actually have concentrations, degrees, majors, or master's degrees in video game design. And you now have 1,600 companies nationwide in 49 different states with 1,800 different locations. So it's a real success story.